He was already running late when the message came in, but instead of rushing out the door, he stopped, just stared at his phone. Today is the deadline. If you don't submit, you're out. That was it. No drama, no warning, just reality. Let me tell you a story. Not about success, not about talent, but about a boy who kept waiting for life to feel ready until life stopped waiting for him. His name was Daniel, and that morning, standing in his small, quiet room, he realized something he had been avoiding for years. He was running out of time. Daniel had always believed in preparation, not action, not risk. Preparation. He believed life rewarded those who waited long enough, planned well enough, perfected everything before starting. So he waited. For months, then years. Every idea he had stayed trapped inside his head like it needed permission to exist. A business idea? Not yet. A YouTube channel? Not ready. A relationship he wanted to pursue? Wrong timing. Even simple things, posting online, speaking up, applying for opportunities. He delayed them all. Because in his mind, the perfect moment was always just ahead. But that morning was different. Because the message on his phone wasn't just another reminder. It was a deadline. He sat on the edge of his bed, thumb hovering over the screen, reading it again and again like it might change. It didn't. From the kitchen, his mother's voice broke the silence. "Daniel, aren't you leaving?" He didn't answer immediately. Then he said, "I might skip today." She walked in, drying her hands on a towel. "Skip? Why?" He hesitated. "I need to fix something first." His mother looked at him for a long moment, the kind of silence that felt heavier than words. Then she said, "You've been fixing something for years." That line hit differently, but Daniel did what he always did when truth got uncomfortable. He smiled slightly. "I just don't want to rush it." His mother sighed. Then she said something simple, something ordinary. But it stayed in the air long after she left. Life doesn't wait for people who are still getting ready. After she walked out, Daniel sat still. For a few seconds, he didn't move at all. Then he opened his laptop. His file was still there. Half-finished proposal, half-built plan, half everything. Like his life. He stared at it, then minimized it. Opened another tab. YouTube. People his age were posting videos, or building businesses, traveling, speaking, growing. Not perfect, just moving. He whispered to himself, "They just started early." But even as he said it, something inside him disagreed, because he knew that wasn't the truth. They didn't start early. They just started. His phone buzzed again. "Mark, you coming today or what? Boss is serious." Daniel typed slowly. "I'm coming." But he didn't move. Minutes passed, then more. The room felt smaller. He stood up, walked to the mirror.
Looked at himself. And for the first time, he didn't think, "I need to be better." He thought, "Why am I still here?" Outside, the world didn't care. Cars moved. People walked. Life continued without hesitation. Inside Daniel's head, everything was louder. Every postponed dream was suddenly speaking at once. He grabbed his bag. Stopped. Put it down. Sat again. "No," he muttered. "Not yet." Then silence. Then a knock at the door. Mark didn't wait for permission. He walked in. Saw Daniel sitting there. And immediately shook his head. "Bro, don't tell me you're still stuck on this." Daniel didn't respond. Mark looked around the room. Books. Notes. Ideas everywhere. Then he laughed once. "You know what your problem is?" Daniel finally looked up. Mark pointed at him. "You think your life is a draft version you can keep editing forever." Daniel's jaw tightened. Mark continued. "You're waiting for everything to be perfect before you start. But perfection is just fear wearing a nice outfit." That line landed heavy. Daniel stood up slowly. I'm not afraid. Mark didn't even hesitate. Yes, you are. Silence. Long. Sharp. Then Mark softened his tone. Listen. I'm not saying start messy. I'm saying start alive. Because right now, you're just existing in preparation mode. Daniel looked away. Because the worst part wasn't hearing it. It was recognizing it. And not being able to deny it anymore. That night, after Mark left, Daniel sat alone in his room. No distractions. No excuses left. Just him. And time. He opened his laptop again. The same unfinished file. This time, he didn't minimize it. He read it. Line by line. And for the first time, it didn't feel incomplete. It felt abandoned. Like something he had left to die slowly while he kept waiting for permission to save it. He whispered, "What if I never feel ready?" The question didn't answer back. But it stayed. And this time, he didn't push it away. He just sat with it. And that silence was the beginning of everything changing. Daniel didn't sleep that night. Not because he was busy. But because his mind had finally stopped lying to him. Every excuse he had ever used started replaying in his head like broken audio. I need more time. I'm not ready yet. Let me prepare a little more. But now, each sentence sounded different. Not wise. Not careful. Just afraid. At 3:12 a.m., he got up. Walked to his desk. Opened his laptop again. The same unfinished file was still there, glowing softly in the dark room like it had been waiting for him. This time, he didn't hesitate. He opened a blank page beside it. And wrote one line. Start now. Then stopped. His fingers hovered above the keyboard. And for a moment, nothing happened. That familiar voice returned. What if it's not good enough? What if people laugh? What if you fail publicly? Daniel leaned back in his chair. Closed his eyes. And whispered out loud. Then at least I won't die waiting. That sentence changed something. Not everything. But enough. He opened the file again. And started typing. Slowly at first. Then faster. Not perfect. Not polished. Just real. For the first time, he wasn't building a perfect version. He was building something that existed. The next morning, Mark called him. You coming in today or not? Daniel looked at his screen. The document was still open. Half-written. But alive. I'll come, he said. And this time, he meant it. When he arrived, Mark was already outside waiting. One look at Daniel's face and Mark raised an eyebrow. You look different. Daniel shrugged. I started something. Mark smiled slightly. Finally. But Daniel didn't smile back. Because something else was happening inside him. Starting didn't feel like victory. It felt like exposure. Like suddenly the world could see him trying. And failing. And not being ready. At work, he made mistakes. Small ones. Then bigger ones. A wrong calculation. A missed deadline. A confused explanation in front of his supervisor. By midday, his boss called him aside. Daniel, what's going on with you lately? He froze. Because this was the exact moment he used to fear. The moment where his not ready yet story got tested in real life. He tried to speak. But nothing came out clean. Finally, he said, I've been distracted. His boss sighed. You're talented. But talent without consistency doesn't mean much here. That sentence didn't sound angry. It sounded final. Daniel nodded slowly. I understand. But walking back to his desk, his chest felt heavy. Because now it wasn't just about dreams anymore. It was about consequences. That evening, something unexpected happened. Mark didn't joke. Didn't tease. He just said, come with me. They walked through the city. Busy streets. Noise everywhere. Life moving fast. Mark stopped near a small cafe. Inside, people were working on laptops, recording videos, talking ideas out loud. Mark pointed. "See that guy?" Daniel looked. A young man, maybe younger than him, editing videos on a cracked laptop. Mark said, "He started here 6 months ago. No setup. No plan. Just started showing up every day." Daniel stayed silent. Mark continued. "You know what he told me once?" Daniel shook his head. Mark said, "I wasn't ready either. I just got tired of waiting for permission from a life that never gives it." That sentence hit differently. Because it wasn't motivational. It was honest. And honesty was harder to ignore. That night, Daniel went home quieter than usual. No scrolling. No distractions. Just silence again. But this time, the silence felt different. Less like comfort. More like pressure. He opened his laptop. Looked at the unfinished work. And for a long time, just stared. Then he clicked, Save as New Version. He named it Version 1. Then stopped. His hands trembled slightly. Because naming it made it real. Not an idea. Not a plan. Something that could be judged. Something that could fail. His old belief tried one last time to fight back. Wait a little more. Fix it first. Make it perfect before anyone sees it. But something inside him answered back now. Quieter. Stronger. If I wait for perfect, I will never start. He took a deep breath. And for the first time, he didn't close the file. He didn't edit it. He didn't polish it. He prepared to share it. But right before he could press upload, his phone buzzed. A message from his boss. Meet me tomorrow morning. We need to talk about your position. Daniel froze. Because now everything was colliding. Work. Dreams. Reality. Consequences. And for the first time, waiting was no longer an option. He looked at the screen. Then at his unfinished work. Then whispered. So this is what it feels like, when you finally stop waiting. And for the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about being ready. He was thinking about surviving what came next. The morning came too fast. Daniel barely slept. Not because he was tired of working. But because he was finally facing something he could no longer delay. Reality. He stood in front of the mirror longer than usual. Same face. Same eyes. But something in him had shifted. Not confidence. Not clarity. Pressure. He grabbed his bag slowly and left. No excuses this time. No delays. Just movement. At work, the atmosphere felt heavier than usual. Even the usual noise seemed quieter to him. Mark noticed it immediately. You didn't sleep, did you? Daniel shook his head. Boss wants to see me. Mark exhaled. Yeah. I heard. That was all he said. No jokes. No comfort. Just understanding. Because both of them knew what this meeting meant. It wasn't just about work anymore. It was about whether Daniel still had a place where he was. The office door opened. Daniel stepped in. His boss was already seated. No smile. No anger. Just that calm, serious expression that meant decisions had already been made. Sit, the boss said. Daniel obeyed. A pause. Then the words came. We've been observing your performance. Daniel nodded slowly. The boss continued. And it's inconsistent. Silence filled the room. Daniel didn't defend himself. He couldn't. Because it was true. Every delay. Every half-finished effort. Every moment he told himself later. It was all sitting in front of him now, dressed as consequences. The boss leaned forward slightly. I'm going to be direct with you. Daniel braced himself. You're not performing at the level we need anymore. Those words landed hard. Not loud. But final. Then came the next sentence. We're letting you go. For a moment, Daniel didn't react. Not because he didn't understand, but because something inside him had already expected it. He just hadn't admitted it. He nodded slowly. I understand. No argument. No begging. Just acceptance. Because deep down, he knew this wasn't sudden. It was years in the making. Years of waiting. Years of delaying. Years of believing he had time. Outside the office, the world kept moving. Cars honked. People rushed. Life didn't pause for him. Mark was waiting outside. One look at Daniel's face and he already knew. You okay? He asked quietly. Daniel laughed once. Not because it was funny. Because it was unreal. I think I just got removed from my own delay. Mark didn't laugh. He just stood beside him. And for a while, they walked in silence. Later that day, Daniel sat alone again. But not in his room this time. On a bench. Watching people pass. Everyone looked like they were going somewhere. He wasn't. At least, that's what it felt like. His phone buzzed. A notification. His unfinished project. Still there. Still waiting. He opened it. Stared at it for a long time. Then something inside him changed. Not suddenly. Not dramatically. But permanently. He whispered. I don't get to wait anymore. And for the first time, that didn't feel like fear. It felt like freedom. That night, he went home and opened his laptop. No overthinking. No rewriting. No perfection checklist. Just action. He opened his file. And instead of editing, he clicked upload. His hands shook. His heart raced. But he didn't stop. The video went live. Immediately after, he closed the laptop. And just sat there. Waiting. Not for perfection. But for whatever came next. Before I continue, if you're still watching this story, take a second and subscribe, like the video, and comment on this one word, starting. Because the truth is, most people never do. They just keep waiting for a moment that never comes. Minutes passed. Then hours. Nothing dramatic. No explosion of success. Just silence. Then a notification. One comment. Then another. Bro, this is real. I feel this. Same situation here. Daniel stared at the screen. Confused at first. Then quieter. Then something cracked open inside him. Because for the first time, he wasn't invisible. Not because he was perfect. But because he had started. Days later, things didn't magically fix. He still struggled. Still doubted. Still made mistakes. But something had changed permanently. He no longer paused at every idea. He no longer waited for permission from perfection. He moved. Even when scared. Even when unsure. Even when it wasn't ready. One evening, Mark asked him, so, was it worth it? Daniel thought for a moment. Then looked at his screen. At the work in progress. At the imperfect journey. And said, I used to think waiting was safe, but it was just another way of disappearing slowly. Mark nodded. Daniel continued quietly. The perfect moment never comes, because it's not supposed to. He paused. Then added. You create it by starting anyway. The story doesn't end with success. It ends with movement. Because Daniel didn't suddenly become perfect. He just stopped waiting for perfection. And that was the real beginning. So if you've been holding your life in pause mode, waiting for everything to align, waiting for confidence, waiting for timing. Maybe the truth is simple. The moment you're waiting for isn't coming. And the only thing standing between you and your life is the decision to start it. Because the biggest lie we tell ourselves isn't that we can't do it. It's that we'll start when it's perfect. And perfect never arrives. Only action does. If this story hit you in any way, don't just move on. Subscribe, like, and comment what you've been waiting to start. Because maybe this isn't just Daniel's story. Maybe it's yours too.